So, Zach, we did last week. You missed the offensive line ranking, but we are going to rank, we just picked like 5 sort of groupings for defensive players. So that brings us to, this defensive player rankings. I mean, we're talking about a safety. He does appear on my list. So, kind of how this is working is I have this thing called win share. So, through now 6 weeks of the season, there's win share for how valuable a player is to their team based kind of like WAR in baseball or player efficiency ratings in basketball. It tries to, even though it's a team sport, we try to just identify who's adding the most value to their team by position. And Brian Branch, so I specifically this week, I didn't tell you the order of my players because I
Uh-oh.
thought that it would be more fun that way. So in my top 5, Brian Branch does appear at the safety position for sure. The top 4 overall: Kyle Hamilton, Nick Emanwari. That's a cool one because he's not there's an asterisk on both Kyle and Nick because they've had some injuries. Brian Cook for the Chiefs, and of course, our guy Brian Branch. So, which order? Who do you like? And then I'll tell you who my favorite one is. Logan, this is your domain, so you
Yeah.
have defensive backs.
Since this is my position group, I'm gonna start here. Look, I love Brian Branch. I love the guys you mentioned. This is so hard to rank wins for defensive players because it's not a design play call for one guy. It is so team oriented on you got to do your job. So that person, you got to have Derwin James on that list. I don't know where Derwin James is, but he is one of the best safeties, if not the best safety. He does a lot for them game plan wise. He's schematically their guy. I mean, he picked off Tua's last pass there, whatever that flea flick, he just picked it off. There's no pitching around. So I'm just gonna start and end with where's Derwin James on your list, and he definitely needs to be on there.
Oh, he's right. He's right up there too. I mean, the hard part for safeties is they're not all asked to do the same thing. So you're kind of measuring 2 different things with like
Right.
free safety. It's different. It's just a different vibe. So I just went with the highest overall numbers. And the only problem that Derwin James has in this particular season is that he's just not been asked to do so much, kind of like Buda Baker. He's been asked to do so much that it makes the win share harder to assess for one position. Now, if you were to say defensive backs overall, it would probably be a little different.
Good to know. I mean, I would put Buddha up there too. I don't know. I think those guys are doing a lot. And sometimes the more you do, the worse it hurts your win share. But the more you do on the football team, the more it helps you win the actual game. So that's why I think sometimes the data and what's being asked is different realities, and why some players get frustrated with their grades because they're doing a lot more.
You go grade him like that. I just had to fit him into one position because we wanted to do safety and corner. So anyway, but because you have to me, there's kind of 3 different categories. You got a corner, and then also that's not even fair anymore because what used to be called the slot corner, and now that was used in the pejorative, is now a very, very valuable part of your team. A slot corner it used to be like, oh, you're bad. Now you're old, you're in the slot. No, no, no. Now they're incredibly valuable because of how much slot play. So it changes a little bit. But Zach, what from the safety position, I have a feeling you're gonna like Kyle Hamilton just because of, oh, I don't know, just a little bias.
I had one guy for each position, and I got Derwin James is my guy. And I think when I look at a position like that, it's like when I turn the film on, what do they look like when he's not in the field? Oh, they're a completely different defense. And like a guy like Derwin James or Buda Baker or Kyle Hamilton, like everything changes when those guys are on the field because they're all over the place. They don't just sit at the back of the field. They're up at the line of scrimmage. They're blitzing. They're covering all different guys on the field. So, like I'm not in the weeds like Logan there, but for those positions, I looked at like how much different is that defense when they're not on the field. And a guy like Derwin James, if he's not out there, they're a totally different looking defense.
Oh, for sure. Hey guys, we need your help. We've noticed not all of you are subscribed to our YouTube channel, so subscribe today.
Subscribe, hit that button.
All right, so we'll go to corners then next. What do you think, Logan?
Let me hear your list here.
All right, okay. This is just through these 6 games. So, because there's some people who, to me, likely will be missing at that. But just from a pure win share number, Jamel Dean, Charvarius Ward, Devin Witherspoon, asterisk, he hasn't played every single game, and Pat Surtain.
Okay, so obviously I love Surtain. He's the former defense player of the year. He's just up there regardless. And I played with Jamel Dean and I played with Charvarius Ward, former teammates. Both great guys. Dean, 6'3", can run like the wind. I'm happy he's catching the ball this year. That was the biggest thing. Can he finish those plays, which he had, and he's been great. Obviously, I told you how good Charvarius Ward was going to be in Indy. But to me, I think the most underrated guy that needs to be on any list is Denzel Ward. If if you gotta watch how the Cleveland Browns play defense, it is very hard to be a good defense when you have a bad offense. Your field position's behind, you're behind on the scoreboard, so the running game's alive still, the passing game's alive. Like Zach will tell you, when the offense is playing with the lead, the defense is essentially guessing. But Denzel Ward's in year 7, year 8. He's been multiple All-Pro, multiple Pro Bowler, covering number 1 wide receivers. He's a true technician of playing off man, which is a dead concept nowadays. Most guys don't know how to backpedal. He's the purest. You can like literally Google Denzel Ward backpedal videos and watch it while you go to bed. Okay, he's the purest. It's
I'm gonna
therapy.
do that tonight.
Yeah, it's the purest technician out there, and he is so slept on. It's crazy to me. But Denzel Ward's a guy that if you know ball, he's a guy that's affecting Cleveland Browns for sure.
Why are people not able to backpedal anymore, do you think?
Because people want taller corners, 6'2", 6'3" corners in college. That just play press man to man. They want to disrupt at the line of scrimmage, and that's just the way that you do it. And most of those tall guys can't pedal. Jamel Dean can't pedal like Denzel Ward can pedal, but Denzel Ward can press as well. So he's very, very complete as a technician, as a player, and he covers number 1 wide receivers. He does all the hard tasks, and just you want bigger bodies at corners. It's a new model, but those guys can't pedal as much as the smaller guys can.
Zach, who do you have on your list?
Yeah, I have Surtain on my list there. Denzel Ward, I haven't watched a whole lot of him, but I've heard Jamar Chase sit there and talk about how good he is. And but really, I got so much respect for these guys that travel the number 1 receiver, that both sides of the field. I know how hard it is to switch from one side of the line of scrimmage to the other, and I think that's harder than just switching from guard to tackle. So the guys that are constantly flipping sides of the field and their footwork's different on each side of it, I got a lot of respect for those guys. And those guys, tough job, right? They're not going to win every rep, but that's as big a job as anyone's got.
Logan, when there's a lefty versus a righty quarterback and you're traveling, is it hard? Like, what's the adjustment like for that? Because I know for wide receivers, the ball spins differently. It's the whole thing, but the footwork and everything, is it? Because we have more lefties now than we've had in a while. So
Yeah, I didn't play against a bunch of lefties. I played against Mike Vick maybe a little bit. I'm trying to think who else was a lefty when I was really playing. But yeah, I think the ball spins differently, and I think people got to be mindful. They're like, well, why'd the DB drop that? We're picking the ball up midair, right? The receiver is looking back. He sees it from the quarterback's hand most of the time. He sees it from the bat, right? He sees it from ball off the bat. We're running with a guy flipping our head, running 17 miles, 18 miles per hour. Then we got to track a ball in the sky mid pop up, right? And that's why a lot of times DBs just aren't able to catch it. And then with a lefty, the spin of the ball is different, which takes receivers time to adjust. So imagine backpedaling, flipping, turning your head, tracking the ball, and then it's a different spin. I mean, it's all completely different, playing against a lefty, especially for wide receivers, but make that 10 times harder for the DB because we got to pick up that ball midair.
yeah, I've been looking at that a lot this season because we have more lefties than we've had in quite some time. So I'm always curious, like if you're going from a lefty to a righty or someone you haven't seen in to as much different like construct. Anyways, very, very interesting stuff. I'm curious about that. Let's move on to a position that unfortunately my top 2 guys are literally, one is on IR as of this week, and the other one is at least injured. I don't know what's going to become of him, but the third one plays for the Lions. So here we go. Number 1 is Fred Warner, and that one is the one that unfortunately now he's on the IR, which is, I don't know. I think somebody's going to need to make a list of who is playing for the Niners as opposed to who's not, because that list is getting longer this season. Devin Lloyd, he had an injury as well. I'm not sure what his status will be. And then Jack Campbell. Those are the 3 that this, at least by win share for inside linebacking positions, have popped on the win share list so far.
Yeah, so I played with Fred Warner. It's not even close. He's the best linebacker in football. Tom Brady, Darrelle Revis, Gronk, Fred Warner. 4 best players I ever played with, probably in that order. All Hall of Famers. Fred's going to be a Hall of Famer. He is everything you want your linebacker to be. He's as athletic as any linebacker probably there ever was in terms of the pass game. And then he's obviously a vicious tackler. He's a great leader, great captain. The whole scheme is built around Fred. I've explained how easy my job was because Fred handles so much of the middle of the field at linebacker.
Yep.
So he's
But he's
the
not.
best in the business.
That's why he's my It's an asterisk because now he's not. So it stinks. But
Fred Warner will be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
oh, for sure.
I'll
Yeah,
just put
no
it
doubt. No doubt.
quite simply that dominant of a player.
The coverage numbers alone for him are ridiculous. Like the since he's entered the league, the ability to stop passes by a linebacker is not even, it's not even close. It's like 15 percentage points different from any other guy. And when you extrapolate that and figure out the fact that he's faced more coverage snaps than all the other, it's just it's a ridiculous output. But it's very unfortunate for the Niners in that regard. Zach, who are your choices?
It is, and a lot of these top linebackers, I always compare people to Kuechly and like Fred Warren. These guys you can just tell are like extreme students of the game. Like they're playing a step ahead of everyone out there. Not only are they athletically gifted and all that, but they're a step ahead of everyone on the field. And that's what Fred was able to bring. Same ran. But another guy, I don't know where he falls in line in the rankings or whatever. Another fellow Notre Dame guy. But when I turn on Kansas City, I mean the guy is all over the. When I watch him, he kind of has. He's not as athletically gifted as those guys that I mentioned, but the guy, you can tell the student, he's all over the place. He's getting guys lined up. He's hitting gaps. He's making big plays in the backfield. So Drew Tranquill is a guy that's jumped up with tape for me this year.
Literally a good chess player as well. He's a wonderful, like a very competitive chess player. It's like him and Justin Reed are like two of the best chess players in all of the NFL. Randomly, this is what I know. But I'm looking at Drew Tranquill has been one of my favorite. Like, I can't believe the Chargers allowed him to go in the division to the Chiefs. That makes no sense to me. Seems like a weird choice, but he's had a great season too. A lot of the difference the problem with win share for linebackers through only 6 games is it's how often you've seen a run versus a pass and what you're asked to do. Like Leo Chenal took over a lot of those duties in this last game, so it's just fewer reps. But by the end of the season, it'll probably even out to a space where I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't at least top 5 by the end of the season. Should we move on to edge? Well, let's leave edge rushers for last. Let's do defensive linemen and the interior. So non-edge rushers. Let's do that. I love this list because Dexter Lawrence is one of my favorite players to just think he's funny. I don't know why. There's something about him. Like his pants are too small. I always am curious if are his pants gonna fall. Then no one has been double teamed more over the past 3 seasons than Dexter Lawrence, which is just a pride number in general. The run stopping ability. Then of course another New Yorker, Quinnen Williams, appears on this list, which is wild because the Jets have not had much success this season. They're the only team that's had yet to get a win. And then another guy, Jeffrey Simmons, on a team with only 1 win. That one is an interesting one as well. So those 3 really pop up for me. And it's funny because they're all on kind of not so winning teams. This is really good English. Not so winning teams. Not so win heavy teams.
Yeah, I agree with all those guys. I mean, obviously we talked about Dexter a couple weeks ago. He's getting double teamed. If you don't double him, you're going to be in trouble. I think Jalen Carter can be that. He just got to be more consistent, and he's just got to play harder consistently. But if he's got the motor, that guy's as good as anybody in.
Weird that he didn't play out Thursday, right?
It was. Yeah, that was very weird. But the young Graham kid in Cleveland and then Tomlinson in Cleveland, like that's as stout as a defensive tackle duo in the league. It's just unfortunate in Cleveland they kind of get buried. You don't get to talk about them all that much. But I really like those 2.
Yeah, Mason Graham. Are you allowed to talk about Michigan people? I mean, I thott Notre Dame guys can't talk about Michigan people. Anyways, Mason Graham there.
I can talk about Michigan people. Yeah. I really like what Graham brings to Cleveland. He's got that twitch to him. He can push the pocket, but he really puts those interior offensive linemen. They're already athletically we're behind a little bit when you get those interior D linemen, and it's definitely a mismatch. If they can get to third down and pass rushing situations, he can be a impact player side.
My prediction that we should go on record with is that next season he's going to have a crazy breakout season. I think some of his like when I saw him at the combine and all the things are like Jim Schwartz is a perfect guy for him. But I think that it'll take just a hot minute for him to look as good as he's really going to look, especially because I think like when you look at him, you're like, how does this guy move so fast? He didn't look like he was like once he gets in his NFL body, if he's a puppy and when he goes into a dog, then you're going to really see like some crazy stuff out of him because he was a puppy for sure coming out of the combine.
Having, Zach here to he's actually had his hands put on him by these people, holds the most weight to actually hear his point of view in this stuff. I really love the list that you have, all those guys. I played with Dex. I played with Jeffrey Simmons. Jeffrey Simmons is as angry as Dex is happy all the time. So there's personalities couldn't be any different. Jeff plays with a lot of anger out there, but he's dominant out there. He knows he's the captain of that team, and not a lot of D linemen are captains. So I got to make that, like, they're not always the captains. Jeff is the captain of that defense, and he earns it. I like everybody. It's hard to rank them for me. I've never had to play against them, but I will say Vita Vea, it needs to be up there as well. And I played in that Todd Bowles defense. It's heralded. You see how much chaos it provides. A lot of rushers have a lot of great years. Levante David has had a Hall of Fame career, in my opinion. Another linebacker needs to be mentioned, but a lot of that has to do with Vita Vea. He takes a lot of doubles. I don't know the percentage, but it's almost every play he takes a double. When I played with him, he still is a good pass rusher, and Zach might be able to say it better than me. He's hard to double team. He keeps the linebackers clean. So a lot of what they do in Tampa has to do with when Vita's on the field, and when Vita's not on the field, it doesn't always work the same.
I forgot to hit on Jeffrey Simmons because I agree with you. He's in that mix every single year. Simmons is the kind of guy, like when you play the Titans a couple years ago, like when they weren't very good, and you're like, oh, we played the Titans, and everyone's like, oh, we played the Titans, and you're sitting there like, but I've got to block Jeffrey Simmons for 65 snaps. Like we got a good chance to win the game, but I'm in for an absolute war today. I'm glad everyone else is happy.
You're like, thanks, guys. Glad everyone's happy. Yeah, no, I thought you might ask about Vita Vea, Logan, so I looked it up for you before, and he's 7. So it's not like he's far off the pace here. So yeah,
Hey, they're winning a lot of games. They're winning a lot
they're
of
winning
games.
a lot of games. That's right. But all right. So let's finish this off with edge rushers. So on this list is, and the funny part is, we'll get into Micah Parsons in a second. Micah Parsons, Myles Garrett, Jared Verse, Aiden Hutchinson. Surprise omission of TJ Watt, which was to me was interesting. Just from when I watch it, and of course Nick Bosa was doing great, and he's now also injured, so that's why he's not there. But just not enough snaps. So I mean, I don't know, any arguments on that one, or what are we seeing?
No arguments. Garrett's obviously as good as they get. I love Verse. I think Verse is kind of the young pass rusher that people got to start taking notice of. He's got that rare combination of speed. He can turn into power really quick and make you look dumb. I think Burns, we talked about him a couple weeks ago. Burns has been a guy who's stepped up and been able to win those one-on-one matchups. I think he's got 6 or 7 sacks already through this season. So I agree with the list. Maybe add Burns in there when they're able to get in those games where they're able to pass rush late.
I'll make my feelings clear on this one. I feel as if Myles Garrett is the best edge rusher in the NFL. I'm not going to say by far, but I think he's in a tier in his own. If Cleveland was able to play with the lead and you can actually pad stats at the end of the game, I couldn't imagine what his numbers would be. Again, he is playing dominant defense with bad offense. It's almost opposite. You're not able to rush the passer when you're losing because people just run the ball on you. And it all starts when you play against the Browns with Myles Garrett. There's a whole presentation about him. So he has separated himself to the elite rushers, but there's a massive name missing from that list there. And I don't know if you have him as an edge rusher, outside linebacker, but it's Nick Bonito. Nick Bonito leading the league in sacks, had a breakout year last year. He also drops in coverage and get pick sixes. So to me, defensive football is about scoring. You got to get the ball back. Okay, it's about takeaways. And I love players that get tackles. I love players that get sacks. I love players that take the ball away when they do that. Nick Bonito has been able to affect the game multiple ways in coverage by dropping, and he's an effective rusher. So he needs to be in that category. But Myles Garrett's the best rusher in the world, but Nick Bonito needs to be in that top 5. Absolutely.
We can never talk about that London game again from the standpoint of football because it was I really appreciated my time there, and it was wonderful, and I loved the stadium. I love it. But that game from like a football perspective was like kind of hard. It was a tough watch. Let's just put it that way. But Nick Bonito basically saved the day, right? Like with Justin for the Broncos, right? With getting those crucial, who are you asking to do something in a pivotal moment, the answer is Nick Bonito. So obviously leading the league in sacks, like we get it. And Justin Fields holding onto the ball for, 6 seconds almost, which is a very long time. 9 sacks. He has many completions in that game as they did sacks. That's never a good stat. But, I'm with you on Nick Bonito. The problem that Nick Bonito faces in being on the second highest pressure defense from a just pressure percentage standpoint is that he has to split some of the win share glory with like Zach Allen. Like there's just a little bit of glory that gets split, but that's because they're very good. And that's kind of with Jared. Jared Verse has some of that problem too, although their secondary isn't as good as their front for the Rams. So he's up there too. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten him. My preseason home with the Broncos, I wouldn't forget them.